Don't get burned on your next tropical vacation, friends, by having an illegal sunscreen. More and more countries are banning sunscreens due to their chemical formulations.
That's right, but it's still critical that you have a good sunscreen so that you don't get burned and enjoy your tropical vacation. We've analyzed many of the sunscreens along with those rules and regulations so that we can give you some recommendations that will both protect you without breaking the bank.
Welcome to Living Phase 2.
Hi, I'm Mike.
And I'm Nancy, and we're empty nesters striving to live life to the fullest.
Our goal is to give you the best hints, tips, and tricks so that you can live your best Phase 2 life.
Yes. So today, being a nurse and Mike being an engineer, we have dug into the latest research on sunscreens that just more and more places are changing their acceptance on the chemical formulations that they're going to allow. So we're going to give you our recommendations on what we have found that we like, as well as what is safe for both us as well as the environment.
That's right, but we also highly recommend that you visit a dermatologist if you have not and get a skin cancer screening. As you can see, I'm fair-skinned. When I had hair, it was blonde, and so I've been actually had my own challenges with that, and this is one of the things we like to bring forward on Living Phase 2 so that you can see some of the challenges later in life. When we were younger, none of us really thought much about sunscreen or sun protection.
We put coconut oil and the darker the better.
And stay out all day. Well, as you can actually see, it's very timely we're doing this video right now. You can see some spotting on my forehead. I'm getting treatment for keratosis, which is a precancerous lesions on the forehead. I've been watching this for years, and as long as I stay on top of it, it should be fine. The treatment I'm doing right now is with a cream, and it covers the whole head, and that's why I'll apologize in advance for the way it looks. But it also really highlights the needs of having a very good sunscreen and sun protection, and that's why we're doing this video today, so that you don't get burned if you go to a particular place that is starting to ban certain formulations of sunscreen, so you can still have the protection.
So we're going to look today at sunscreen from both the environmental effects that it has, as well as the effects that it has on our bodies. When you're thinking of the environmental effects, and we're talking about reef safe, the ocean coral reefs, they've done some studies that have shown that sunscreen is causing damage to the coral reefs, but they've done them in labs where it's a much higher concentration. When you're thinking of the ocean, the vast, wide ocean, are these chemicals really affecting the coral reefs? And really more studies need to be done to determine that.
Right, but some locations are going ahead and going off some of the preliminary studies, and they're starting to ban certain chemicals. The nice thing is there are alternative chemicals that they've come up with, and we're also going to talk about things like mineral-based sunscreens. So there are still sunscreen alternatives, even in areas where certain sunscreens are being banned.
Right.
The second piece of that, though, is, and actually we think it's the primary way to protect yourself, and that's clothing. So wearing a rash guard like I have on here, you'll see almost all our videos when we're outside. I'll have my Panama hat on, covering up my head.
Hat.
And if we're swimming in the ocean, quite often you'll see my head rag here, and that's why we do it. Obviously, you can see that I've had some sun exposure here, and that's why we wear all that. The number one thing, wear good clothing that protects you from the sun. As we said, long sleeve shirts, rash guards, things like that.
Your first line of defense.
That's right. And a nice thing about that, it minimizes the area then you have to actually apply sunscreen.
Right, because the skin is our biggest organ on our body, and since we don't necessarily know all of the long-term effects of having these chemicals on our bodies, it's best if we can minimize them. And really the recommendation, though, is we need to be protected on a daily basis from UV rays of UVA and UVB.
Well, now that we've covered what we can do other than sunscreen, such as environmental, staying in the shade, you know, our clothing. Well, let's talk about what is a good sunscreen and what is a reef-safe sunscreen.
Yes, let's do. Now, as far as the reef-safe sunscreen goes, unfortunately, there's no international standard, and their regulations are changing on a regular basis.
All the time.
Yeah,
all the time.
So.
But let's talk at the basics. So what is a good sunscreen? Well, in general, the recommendations for a good sunscreen are it has UVA and UVB protection. It is SPF 30 or higher. And first and foremost, it's one that you'll wear. So as an example, I know, Nancy, you like sprays.
I do not like cream.
And I like cream. So you want to get a sunscreen that's easy to apply, that you know that you're going to wear. So let's talk a little bit. What is SPF?
Yeah, the FDA talks about SPF. A lot of people will think SPF means the amount of time that you can stay out in the sun, but really that's kind of a misnomer. SPF talks about the protection of the UV rays. And if you're out in the morning or evening, your UV rays are not near as strong as if you're out, say, from 12 to 3. They're much stronger at that time. So you can, regardless of the amount of SPF that's in the sunscreen, you can only stay out for a shorter period of time. Now, really, the FDA recommends 30. 30 blocks 97% of the UV rays. Now, if you go up to a 50 SPF, that blocks 98% of the UV rays. And if you go up to 100 SPF, that's going to block 99% of the UV rays. So there's not much difference between 97 and 99%. So if you've got at least a 30 on your SPF, you're doing pretty good there. The key is to apply it frequently, and that's even your waterproof sunscreens. So you want to apply them at least every 90 minutes and really rub them in.
Well, now that we've covered what SPF is, let's talk a little bit about all these chemicals that go into our sunscreen. We're going to use a lot of really long terms here. We're going to use a lot of names. Probably I'm going to mispronounce half of them. So for all you chemical engineers out there and chemists, you know, forgive me for that. But what you can do is go to livingphase2.com, and we're going to post this all up as an actual blog. There'll be a ton of additional information in there. We'll give you links to products, so you can really get more in depth than we can do on our YouTube video here right now. But let's talk a little bit about each of the ingredients, and are they reef safe, or should you even be using them on your skin? Well, the first is PABA. It is a very effective UV blocker. However, what we're finding is there's a lot of people who are having allergic reactions to PABA, and so that what's happening now is that you're finding that you really want to avoid those types of sunscreens, and most of them will say PABA free. The next is parabens. Paraben is a preservative that's used in cosmetics. It's been used in sunscreens. However, again, they're finding out that it's really not as safe as they originally thought it was. So you'll find also, once again, most sunscreens are paraben free, but you want to just kind of check the label and make sure. Well, let's talk about the first couple chemicals that are being banned in some places because they have been linked in some lab studies to reef damage. The first is oxybenzone, and again, safe, very effective UV blocker. It makes for a great sunscreen. However, that chemical has been identified as potentially causing some reef damage. So some locations are starting to ban that chemical. And the next is oxyoxynate, and again, same thing. It's been found in some studies. There's some concerns that that could be causing some reef damage.
So the one chemical that they are now using more and more is octocrylene. However, as they continue to do studies, some places are now banning,
starting to look at it, yeah,
and to look at closer the octocrylene, if that's something that's safe for the reef.
So what is the alternative to chemical sunscreens? Mineral sunscreens. That's right. So mineral sunscreens, if you think back to the one thing we did have back in the 70s, early 80s, etc., to protect ourselves from the sun was zinc oxide. And you can remember the big white cream on the nose or the tops of the ears and things. Well, today's zinc oxide is not yesterday's zinc oxide. Right now, as of today, two different types of minerals are primarily being used, zinc oxide and titanium oxide. Mostly you'll find zinc oxide. And the reason we say that today's zinc oxide is not the same as yesterday's is they have been able to break those particles down so much that you can actually put it in a cream form and rub it on. It actually rubs into your skin. You might get a slight white tinge, but really you can't hardly tell it. It's effective, waterproof, and a very good sunscreen. So that is an alternative to the chemical ones, are the mineral sunscreens. And we're going to go over each of those in our selections. So let's go ahead and start on what locations currently, as of right now, have started to ban certain sunscreens, what chemicals are banned, and then we'll go into our recommendations of sunscreens you can take anywhere in the world and you'll be able to protect yourself. First is Hawaii.
Now, Hawaii has enacted a sunscreen ban on over-the-counter sale of those containing oxybenzone and octinoxate. And the state also has more legislation pending to broaden the list of banned sunscreen ingredients. So if you're going to go there, be sure to check and see the latest regulations. And by the way, once again, we will have all of these on our website, on the blog at livingphase2.com.
That's right. Next is U.S. Virgin Islands, and they've outright banned all sunscreen containing oxybenzone, octoethylene, and octinoxate. So it doesn't permit the sale, use of sunscreens, any containing those. And really what that's broken down to is, if you're going to the U.S. Virgin Islands, they're pretty much dictating mineral sunscreens at this point.
Okay. The next is Aruba. Aruba has outlawed sunscreens containing oxybenzone since July of 2020, and they are now contemplating additional bans.
Right. Bonaire is next. Great, one of the best scuba diving places in the world, and they already charge really deep environmental fees to go scuba diving there on their coral reefs, but they only allow reef-friendly sunscreen to be sold on the island. However, their regulations are pretty poorly defined, and really they just recommend that tourists bring only biodegradable, which we would consider mineral sunscreens, to the island.
The next is the eco parks in Mexico, natural water parks like Xcaret and
Xcaret, remember?
Xcaret.
Yep.
And El Ha.
Yep.
And Cozumel's. Look, gave me hard words.
I know, I love it. I didn't have to pronounce this.
Chancanab Beach Adventure Park require visitors to use only biodegradable sunscreens. Unfortunately, biodegradable is not well defined. However, mineral sunscreens are approved. When entering these parks, they will check. And if you have any chemical sunscreens, they will be confiscated.
That's right. Palau, which is made famous by Survivor, the sunscreen ban, it's the sale and use containing 10 chemicals. And I'm not going to read them all off, but again, you can look on our website. And so really only mineral sunscreens are allowed in Palau.
Okay. Key West, Florida. They've banned the sale and purchase of sunscreens containing oxybenzone and octinoxate. However, being a local jurisdiction, this has currently been blocked by the state of Florida. So I guess it's just kind of on hold right now.
Right. And finally, Australia. So Australia is really kind of weird.
It's a place all of its own
it is,
when it comes to sunscreen.
We love our Australian friends, but your sunscreen regulations are quite odd.
Yeah.
What's really happened in Australia is they've passed a law that any SPF rating above 15 is considered a medicine. It's considered for a medical purpose.
You need a prescription.
You need a prescription to get it. And so what's happened is all the sunscreen manufacturers will not rate their sunscreens higher than SPF 15 in Australia. It may be the same formulation as in the States that's giving you an SPF 50 here, but they will not claim an SPF higher than 15 so that then you don't have to get the prescription. The best thing to do there is find the sunscreens that you like in the US, look at the actual percentages of the different chemicals or minerals, and then that way you can then tell, is it equal or not in is it going to equate to a certain SPF or not? It just makes it a little bit more difficult. So I think next, let's go into our full recommendations for sunscreen.
What are they? But before we get into them, let's invite you to like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications.
We really appreciate it. Reach down, hit that subscribe button if this has been helpful. And also, please, if you have questions, comments, things you've run into from a sunscreen perspective, we'd love to hear from you.
We would. So right now, friends, our current pick for chemical sunscreens is the Walmart Equate Ultra Sunscreen. Now, these do not contain oxybenzone and octinoxate.
No.
You're doing great. But they do contain the
Krylene.
Yeah. So potentially in the near future they may be banned, but as of now, this is what we recommend. By the way, for this 16 ounce, this is a Walmart. The Equate brand is $8. The spray 5.5 ounces is $5.
Right.
So
and we really like these because you can get them. I mean, there's Walmarts everywhere. And you know, it's the formulation is the same as other name brands, but we found this to be very affordable and extremely effective.
Yes.
If you're looking to go the mineral sunscreen route, we found 2 products that we highly recommend. First is Coppertone Pure and Simple. It literally contains zinc oxide, 25% This is the spray right here, and this is the cream right here. You can pick that up off of Amazon. I think we got each of these for about $10. It is a smaller container than the Equate, so you can see you're paying almost twice as much for the mineral sunscreen. But if you want to go that route, no chemicals, not banned anywhere in the world, that's a good route to go. And then your a little bit higher end mineral sunscreen is the Think Sport, this SPF 50. Now, why would you use this one over this one? Something you can see on our blog site. This is a microparticle mineral sunscreen. This is a nanoparticle mineral sunscreen. And you can read a little bit about that, but effectively both zinc oxide products, both very effective. We've used all these and tried them all out on our vacations, especially with my sensitive skin. Haven't gotten burned once, and I've liked all of the products. You like a spray.
Thank you.
So really recommending going with this if you like the spray, and either one of these. The Think Sport was, you can get the Think Sport at Costco actually right now for about $10 a tube, so about the same as the Coppertone. But Costco changes what they carry quite frequently, so you can get this on Amazon for about $15. Again, a little bit more expensive, but it's a good product, and this is 6 ounces versus 16 ounces of the Equate.
Others that we recommend that we don't have here, that Alba Botanical Hawaiian doesn't contain the unwanted chemicals. Trader Joe's spray has an SPF of 50, and these have the same formulations as the Walmart one, but they're a little more on the expensive side.
A little more expensive. They do have the oxycrylene, so again, you know, it's as you can see, look for that Reef Safe symbol, but as we mentioned earlier, since there's no international standard for what exactly is Reef Safe, that's why we've tried to give you the actual chemical backgrounds.
But our best tip, friends, our best pro tip is buy before you fly. Because once you get down there, they've kind of got you over a barrel. You need sunscreen. There's a lot of UV rays down there in the tropics. And so you need to be protected, and it can be quite costly once you get down there or get on your cruise or wherever it is that you're going.
Yeah,
so
if you're going to go
them ahead of time.
If you're going to go to a Mexican eco park where they require a Reef Safe or mineral sunscreen, what we just mentioned, you're going to pay about $10 here. You're going to pay maybe $30.
Okay. What I owe you?
How much you got? All of it, boy.
Think ahead, buy before you fly.
Right, right. Or they had it confiscated from their bag once they either landed or got off the ship.
Right, if it has the incorrect chemicals and you're going to try to go swimming or diving in a Mexican cenote, I think that's how you pronounce it, you know, the sinkholes, you know, they do not allow the non-reef safe sunscreen there. So you want to make sure you have the right product before you go.
Exactly. So friends, let's do a quick recommendations recap. The first is to have protective clothing. Best line of defense ever. The second is to have your sunscreen either chemical or mineral.
That's right. The next is buy Reef Safe sunscreen when you can. It's becoming very prevalent. Most are getting down to where it only has the oxocrylene on a chemical basis, and the mineral-based sunscreens are becoming extremely available, and you can get them readily anywhere. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I have one final thing. Because the regulations are changing so often and so regularly, it also means that these companies are changing their formulations. So what we have shown you today may not be the same as in 6 months or a year from now. So do check the ingredients list on the back of the package.
Yeah, and one final thing, we just want to make sure everyone notes, we're not being paid by any of these.
No,
we have no sponsors. We really just do this because
recommend.
we think it's the right thing to do. We want to get the best information out for you to live your best life. And obviously you can see from me, sunscreen and skin cancer is a huge important topic for me. And so we just wanted to give you what we do and what's the best. And again, no sponsors here. It's just what we've found works for us.
So friends, we hope that this has been helpful for you. Again, if you want to get into more detail, go over to livingphase2.com and see the blog. There will be a link below that will take you directly to it.
Well, we hope this has been informative, educational, some fun, and really helpful for your next tropical vacation.
Thanks, friends. Have a great day. Living Phase 2.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.